Yo, 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 what's up, guys? Alejandro Reyes here. So pumped to be here with my good friend, Ariel, Pastor Ariel, who I've been working with. Man, I think it's been 5, 6 years. We've had the chance to work together. He's our church, New Vintage Church, has gone through materials with Ariel on some of his courses, teaching us how to better connect people to the life of the church. Now, today, Errol's going to be talking about how to double your church in the next 30 days with this 2 minute strategy. But before he jumps in, I just want to say, man, Errol's been someone I've seen help a lot of churches, whether they're small or big. A lot of churches under 200. And I would imagine a lot of your churches are under 200. And the thing that I love most about Ariel is that he works at a church that was, I think, over 4 or 5 thousand churches. Actually, was a very influential church in kind of the circles that I run in. And so when you work at a larger church, you kind of have some insight on how things run at a higher scale. And so our church at the time was, I think, 600 or 700 when I started going through some of Ariel's stuff. And we're a little over 1,000 now over the last few years. But when you have that level of thinking and ability to inject it into a smaller church, um, it's really night or day with the systems that we had running before Ariel and some of the systems that were running after Ariel. So without further ado, want to introduce you to guys, if you don't know him yet, which a lot of you already do, to my good friend and coach, Pastor Ariel. What's up, my man?
Hey man, so appreciate you hosting this here. I feel like you've got like the smooth vibe. You set it off well. I appreciate that.
Oh man, I gotta hype it up, bro. You've been a blessing in my life. I know you work with churches of all sizes, but really specialize in churches, under that 2 or 300 range that are trying to figure out how to plug people into the life of the church arrow. Because I think a lot of churches, what they end up doing is they're very much attractional. How do we get people here? And the average person goes to church before COVID 1.7 times a month. So under 2 times a month. I heard some reports that people are coming to church once every 3 or 4 weeks now. And so as we focus so much on attraction, being a marketer and a businessman, I understand the value of why not follow up with the people that are already in your church, know you, like you, trust you, versus spending your only efforts for attraction to new people. And you and I have been going through kind of your system, and I think it's going to be a game changer. And here's the only thing that I would ask. There's a couple things, and Arrow's going to talk about some things here, but like just have an open mind because there's a lot of these webinars. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of really good ideas out there. But until you figure out how to get people to stick and get plugged into the life of the church, I think a lot of other things can be put on hold. And Aaron's going to talk about a 2 minute strategy today that you can implement literally 30 minutes after this call. And you're going to have people start showing up at your church again and again. So I'm going to go off video. I'll make sure that people are muted, Ariel, let in, and I'll let you take it from here, man.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks. So as Alejandro mentioned, we're going to be jumping in and talking a little bit about this strategy to help you double your church in 30 days. And it's really with this 2 minute strategy. And honestly, when I think about this myself, I just kind of wonder, well, this thing sounds a bit crazy. Like, really? 2 minutes? And so let me just kind of give you a couple of quick proofs. This is Pastor Ryan Stockstrom. Not one of the best pictures, but I took it off his Facebook profile, and he went from 60 on a Sunday to over 130. And my favorite part about his story is that a couple of months ago we were chatting, we checked in, and he was having a volunteers training. And again, his church was at about 130, 140. He had about 60 plus, I think 80 something volunteers. These were 80 committed people, but this isn't a church of 130. This is the level of commitment that he was getting. This is Pastor Chris Morante. I worked with him about a year or two ago, and his church was able, well, his church grew at such a point during the year before COVID and during COVID. that his church was voted number 53 of the fastest growing churches in America by Outreach Magazine. This is my good friend, Pastor Chris George, whose ministry went from 20 to 60 on a Sunday in really just about 2 months. This is my other friend, Pastor Jacob. If any of you ever meet this guy, he's got a lot of personality. But he was able to reach a community behind him, and he went from 100 to over 200 by reaching this community and connecting with them in a very special way. In fact, I visited his church. I went down to Louisiana, and I remember he drove me into this community, and they called it the projects. And you literally saw these guys selling drugs. But when Pastor Jacob pulled up, they were like, "Hey, Pastor Jacob," and they were high fiving him. And he was walking into people's backyards like he was the mayor. And it just spoke to the level of relational equity that he built with the community. And it's one of the most important things that we want to keep in mind. Also, I didn't get a picture of Pastor Chris, but Pastor Chris, when we first met, Pastor Troy, I'm sorry, I didn't get a picture of Pastor Troy. When we first met, actually was on a call with him earlier today. He was at about 175 in his church. Recently broke their highest attendance, which was 345. And so these things just kind of remind me of the power of leveraging the power of reaching and connecting guests. So as people are coming to the church, how do we connect them and keep them connected, especially with people who may have visited in the past, or they have relationships, people who've come to the church, but then they've disappeared, they haven't come back in a while. And so we want to make sure that we are figuring out ways to really connect them in a strong, tight way. I want you to know that this training, it's not for you if you're not open to trying new strategies. If you're not open to trying something different. And I love the saying that doing the same thing is insanity, right? Insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Well, if you aren't open to trying new things, and I'm letting you know now, some of the things we're going to share, you're probably going to feel like, no, this isn't for me. This training also isn't for you if you're not interested in leveraging video. And leveraging video is one of the most important things, and we'll get into it in more detail later on. But it allows you to build trust in a quicker way than an email or just straight text will. Wanting to be able to see your face and be able to just feel your your expressions and what you see and how you feel, how you communicate, the tone of your voice. All of those things matter when building trust. And then this isn't for you if you're looking for just quick fixes. Look, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're building the kingdom. And this takes effort and it takes energy, and there's going to be opposition and there's going to be challenges. And so if you're looking for something that's going to happen immediately and then, disappear, it's not going to work. What you need is to be able to be committed to the calling that God has for you. Real quick, and Alejandro mentioned this, but to get the most out of today, I want you to be open-minded. I want you to take action, right? Jump right into it, take some action. And at the end of the day, I'm going to invite you to a program that we're starting, a brand new program. Love for you to just join us. It may not be for everyone. That's absolutely fine. But if it's for you, we can have some conversations afterwards. And so again, each one of these testimonies that I shared, they leverage the power of reaching and connecting new guests. And so here is our framework for turning guests into mature disciples, right? This is the big picture. And the first step is what we call reaching new families every week. So we want to be able to reach people in the community. We'll use some outreach events. We'll challenge or really help the congregation to invite friends and family. We'll utilize social media to be able to reach your community. And then step two is we want you to connect new families to your church. Okay, so this is where as people start to visit your church, we want to create a welcoming environment. And then we want to follow up with them. We want to get them connected into the church, to the body life of the church. Maybe that means membership. Maybe that means serving in a ministry. But we want them to go beyond Sundays. Then step number three in this process is once you've got people engaged, once they feel like they're connected, we want to begin turning them into mature disciples, right? We want to invest in their spiritual growth. And I remember just hearing this a couple of years ago of this pastor who his church kind of hit around 150, 200, and it just was stuck there for a couple of years. And he started to just rationalize in his head, hey, maybe I am a 200 size church pastor, right? That's my leadership capacity. That's my lid. And he had some conversation with someone who kind of challenged his thinking a bit. And he said, maybe instead of investing in growing the church, I'm going to focus on growing people. And the moment he made that shift in his thinking and started to implement certain systems and put things in place to grow people, his church went from 200 to over 2,000, right? Because he had a process in place. And then the fourth step for our overall framework is once you have disciples, we want to turn those disciples into high capacity leaders, right? We want to be able to take these individuals who you've been pouring into and now give them an opportunity to be poured out. I believe that one of the biggest opportunities for people to grow spiritually is to go from leading a from participating in a Bible study to leading in a Bible study, or from participating in a small group to actually leading a small group. And this is, to me, the main goal. We want to turn disciples into leaders so that what God has poured into them has a avenue and opportunity to pour out. Today, specifically, we're going to focus on step number 2. We're going to just take a slither of this step and talk about how to connect new families to your church. And so, real quick, just in case you don't know me, my name is Pastor Ariel. I'm former discipleship pastor at Christ Tabernacle, currently at Saints Church. It was a 4,000 member church in New York City. And my first year, honestly, we struggled to connect people to the church. One of the things that was amazing after the first year, I still remember I got this report. We had over 2,000 people that came to the church for the first time, but then we only had connected 2% of them, right? And that green line on the bottom, that's the amount of guests that we actually connected. The blue line is the amount of first-time guests we have. So from January to March, we had about 300 first-time guests. And you see October, December, Christmas, we had over 900, but we connected a small amount. And really, this reminds us of the fact that if you don't have a process, you're going to struggle to grow the ministry because you're trying to connect people and then invest in them and then help them grow. And so we struggle to get guests to call our church home. And we realized that the biggest key to connecting guests was building trust. And one of the fastest ways to build trust is a phone call. The second fastest is video, right? So if you've got 10 first-time guests, maybe you can call all 10, but when you've got 10 first-time guests every single week, that becomes really challenging. And so we started to utilize and leverage video to be able to connect guests. And so, as I mentioned, we started using video, and, we would reach out to guests who didn't connect. And immediately we started to see an increase in the amount of people who began to take our membership class, right? Because what we would do is we would end up, following up with them, and we'd invite them and they'd take some next steps. And we saw an immediate impact in our membership class. And that first year, we averaged around 150 new members per year. And this was really, it wasn't because we had all of this great stuff, it's because what we learned is we needed to connect with people, and we needed to do it in a way that would help us to build trust. And so the old way of doing this was, for us, the old way was we would follow up with a new guest for a week or two, and then honestly, we were done. Right? I don't know if this ever happened to you, right? You don't have enough time. You're busy. You're sermon prepping. And so the old way, you follow up with new guests, week or two, and then there's no follow-up after that. And if we don't connect visitors immediately, they eventually stop following up. We eventually stop following up, and they stop coming, right? Eventually what happens is when we don't connect with guests, we get to a point where we get discouraged, or we've got new guests that come in and we move on to the next thing. And what happens is those guests that maybe were interested, they don't hear from us and they don't return. And so this was a message that I got from someone recently. They said, I try to write a personal text message, but when it comes to follow-up, I'm all alone with a plate that's already too full. So it's hit and miss. Do me a favor in the chat. Just kind of give me a thumbs up if you resonate with this message. If you realize, man, I want to follow up with people, but I'm too busy. I've got too much on my plate. It feels like, I'm struggling to connect with people. Finding the time to be able to do this is challenging. Let me know in the chat if this resonates with you. Awesome. I see Pastor Lamont already gave me a thumbs up. Awesome. Right. So what happens is when we are in this position where we're so busy, we eventually get to a point where we get discouraged because things take too much time, right? It's too much work, too much time. I'm too busy. I got a sermon prep. Sunday comes every week, and somehow I've got to be ready for it. Now, let me share with you the new way. The new way is focus on reconnecting past guests using video, right? So this is, Pastor David Dominguez, and he's a pastor in a church in the Philippines. During the month of May, his church went from 42 to 72 in 3 weeks. Okay, so this is a pastor who for many years has struggled to connect people, and the church has always been kind of small. And they grew by 20, but they only had 5 new first-time guests. And so I had to ask him, I said, well, what happened that you went from 42 to 72, but you only had 5 new guests? And he said, well, this is what we did. We focused on inviting past guests, right? They focused on the guests, people who came to the church for the first time, maybe 6 months ago. They began re-inviting them again. And they had their congregation reconnect with them. And within a month, they grew extremely quickly. And so the new way, right? It's easier to get a previous visitor to visit a second time than it is for you to get a new person to visit you for the first time. And I'm going to say that one more time because I want to make sure it hits. It's easier to get a previous visitor to visit a second time than it is for you to get a new person who doesn't know you, doesn't know the church. Honestly, might be skeptical of you. It's harder to get them to visit you a second time. And so we tested this theory with Pastor Joe Prasad from Liberty Church. They had around 300. And about a week or two ago, they hit over 430, right? And so this was our strategy. We called it our comeback strategy. Past guests plus video leads to growth, right? A list of past guests, people who've visited you in the past, who've come to your church. Send them a video, and then you're going to see some of them come back. So let me just ask you this question. How many of you have a list of past first-time guests, right? People who might have visited in the last 6 months, a year. Just kind of let me know. Just type me in the chat if you have a list of first-time guests, people who visited your church in the past. And while you do that, I'm just going to take a quick water break. So I see a couple of me's already. A yes. All right. So you've got this list of first-time guests. These are people who you may not have reached out to in the last maybe couple of months. They've come to your church, and then they hear from you for about 2 weeks, and then they don't hear from you again. And so have you reached out to them in the last 30 days? Right? Have any of you reached out to your guests, these guests, in the last 30 days? And if the answer is no, it's absolutely fine, because we're going to give you a script today that's going to help you reach out to them pretty quickly. And so the best way to quickly reach past and new guests is to utilize video, right? And so one of the video scripts we use is called the comeback script, right? And so it's real simple, right? We record a simple video, and this was a video that we recorded a couple of, maybe about a month or two ago. And then this video had over 30 families commit to coming to the church, right? He sent it to all of his previous past guests, and 30 families committed to coming. And so you'll see, yes, I will be coming with my family. Good evening. Yes, I'm coming. Thank you, Pastor Joe. I'm honored and looking forward to it. See you Sunday. Good afternoon. I've been attending. Thank you, Pastor Joe. I will attend this service. I usually go to church on Sundays, but it's been a while. I was there one Sunday in February, but I work on Sundays, so I watch live. Thank you, Pastor Joe, for the video. I will be there on Sunday at 8:30, which I so love, and I was very glad you decided to start this service because I'm an early person. I'm a member, but due to work, I'm not able to attend every Sunday, right? So these are individuals who are kind of committed, and he sent these videos, and it kind of just re-engaged them, re-brought them back. And so there's a two-step process to this. Number one is get a list of past visitors, right? Get the list. Who came to your church for the first time last year, Easter, or who came to the church for the first time maybe in January. And then we're going to record and send a simple video to them. And so again, your step one, You're going to go into your church management system, or you're going to go to your list, create a list of some past visitors within the last 6 to 12 months. And then step two, we're going to use this script to record and send video. And so I'm going to just walk you through this script. The first part of this script is what we call the hook, right? And the point of the hook is really just to get people's interest. And typically what we want to do is we want to ask a question. So again, if you're recording this video, you're going to ask a question based on a pain point or something that they might be going through. And so an example might be, do you wake up wondering if you'll have enough money to pay the bills? So imagine if this Sunday I was preaching on finances, or I was preaching on God's provision. I was preaching on the fact that, God provides. I might open up with this question. I might open up the video with this question. And so here's what I want you to do. I want to just help you real quick, create a hook, type your sermon topic into the chat. So just take a moment in the chat. What are you thinking about preaching this Sunday? And I'll just quickly give you a suggestion or two. So, and I know it's Tuesday, so some of you may not have all the details of your sermon, but just give me a general topic, that something you might be preaching on this Sunday, or something you preached on the Sunday before. Just put it in the chat and I'll give you a quick suggestion as to a potential hook. Awesome. So I see Pastor David wrote Paul's conversion. So for example, the road to Damascus. And so maybe the question is, have you ever felt like, you were trying to accomplish something and you realized that God was against it? Have you ever realized you were making a decision and it was the wrong decision? You were making the wrong decision. Or a heart for the harvest. Have you ever gone to church, passed by the neighborhood and just wondered, man, are these people, what's going to happen to these people, when it's time for them to see Jesus? Do you have a heart for the harvest? Or can God trust me? Right? Hey, I've disappointed. Have you ever felt like you've disappointed some of your loved ones, disappointed the people around you, and you're wondering, can God really trust me? Right? So those are just simple hooks. John Whitfield wrote, have you failed or been disappointed? Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you were expecting something to happen and it didn't work out the way you were hoping? Ever felt disappointed in God? Right? It's just an opening hook. It's a question to get people's attention, to capture their focus. Then from there, right, what we want to do is we want to start to frame the problem that your sermon is resolving, right? So we have the hook, and then we start to introduce ourselves, right? Hey, do you wake up wondering if you'll have enough to pay the bills? Pastor Arrow here from such and such church, right? And then remind them of how you met. I'm sending you this message because you visited us in the last year, or you visited us in the last 6 months, right? Because if you haven't reached out to them in the last 30 days, they might be wondering, who are you? So you want to add this one line into your script just to remind them about, remind them how you guys connected. And then you're going to come back and just kind of share about the upcoming event. Hey, this Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on finances. This Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on disappointment. This Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on having a heart for the harvest. This Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on whether God can trust me. This Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on, Paul's transformation, how he went from Saul to Paul, right? So this is where we're just kind of giving a little information about the details of it. And then the benefit, I'll show you how to, whatever it is, if it's, hey, in this sermon, man, we're going to be talking about how, you can just make a decision that's going to help you turn your life around. Or in this sermon, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can begin reaching your neighbors, your community. So I'll show you the benefit. What's the benefit of the sermon? What's the thing that when they hear the sermon, they're going to walk away learning, they're going to walk away transformed with? And then I typically sometimes add something if I feel like I need it after the service. So maybe, hey, and after the service, I'll be at the coffee area, or the first impressions table. I'd love to be able to meet with you. Or, hey, after the service, we'll be serving some hot dogs. Or after the service, we're going to have a meet the pastor in this location. Like if you've got anything after the service, you can invite people to come to. you want to share that at that point in time. And then give them the details of the service, right? Because they can't make it to the service if they don't know the time. So the service begins at 12, at 10, at 1, at 3. And we would love to have you as our special guest. And then just instructions. I always include this because I want interaction. And it's just simply, okay, just reply yes if you're going to be joining us. Okay, why do I do this? The reason I do this is because the moment they reply yes, I begin to interact with them. And again, it doesn't have to be you. This could be a volunteer. But the goal is to start some mini conversation where I'm trying to create connection with some of these guests. And then the last line is see you on Sunday, right? This is the script. And literally the script, this pastor used this script. He recorded it on his iPhone. Literally, he held it with his hand. He read it off the iPhone. He recorded it. Took him less than 30 minutes to record and send it to me, and I sent it out for him. But you can send it out if you're using any kind of program. You can send it via text. You can send it via text in church, or if you've got Clearstream or any other program, if you utilize Planning Center, any of these apps that many pastors are using, you can send out this video. It's going to take you, the video itself should be less than 2 minutes. And maybe it'll take you 30 minutes to record if you're kind of finicky. I don't know about you, but this happens to me. I don't like seeing myself on video, so I record a video. It's not good enough. I record it again. It's not good enough. I record it again. And eventually I hit a point where I say, okay, next try is the last one because I'll be here all day. So what I would do is I'd grab your phone, grab the script, read it right into the phone, and then just go, just send it out. First try, send it out and go for it. Because many times what happens is we are overly critical of ourselves when it comes to video. And I just want you to, it's not about me or you, it's about just connecting with our guests. And again, these are some of the responses that we've gotten in the past from some of the guests. And in fact, we took this script and we actually modified it a little bit. And we created a invitation, a video for membership class. They had 17 people sign up for a membership class immediately. And one of my favorite responses was from this individual. He responded that he had already taken the membership class. And so we kind of went back and forth. Hey, are you currently serving in a ministry then? No. So he's a member, but he's not serving. We would have never known that if it wasn't for this video. And so again, would you be interested serving in a ministry? Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. And then I had someone follow up with him, right? That's how simple it was. We sent out a video saying, hey, we're doing a membership class. We literally used the same exact script. We just modified one thing. Hey, and after service, we'll have our membership class. Guy said, I'm already a member. Great. Are you serving? No? Okay, let's get you connected. Right? These are opportunities to help people take further steps. All right. So let me just do this real quick. Let me recap real quick. We talked about the old way, right? We talked about following up with a new guest for a week or two, and then typically we're done, right? Maybe it's a week or two. Maybe you have a more built out process and it's 4 weeks, and then you're done. But the new way, what we want to do is we want to focus on reconnecting past guests using video. So someone who might have visited you 3 months ago, 6 months ago, we want to be able to connect with them utilizing video. And, again, these are some of the responses that we had gotten from people. And the process was real simple. Get a list of past visitors, right? Many of you said you have a list of past visitors. If you don't have a list, begin keeping track of visitors. When people come to your church, ask them for a name and an email address so you can follow up with them. And then record and send a simple video. And you can utilize the script we just went over. And again, as I mentioned, Pastor Joe Prasad, his church followed this process, recorded a video. They were at around 300. Recently, they were at 430, an increase of around 100 in about 30 days with just a 2-minute video that they've been sending out. And so at this point, you've got 3 choices, right? So choice number 1 is this. You can walk away and do nothing with what we just shared. And that's absolutely fine. It may not be for you, no problem. Choice number 2 is take it. We've shared the script with you. Many of you have gotten the emails where I had the script as a Google Doc. You can take it, take action, do something with it and go at it alone. Or choice number 3 is actually let me help you with some of this process. so that way we can actually walk alongside of you, helping you grow and overcome some of the growth challenges you might be facing. And so let me ask you this quick question. Is it okay if I share with you what it would look like if we were to help you double your church? Just let me know in the chat. Are you okay with me taking the next 5 to 10 minutes and just unpacking this brand new program that we're doing and just kind of giving you some details about it? Awesome. Thank you, Pastor Carol, Pastor Jay, Pastor David. Awesome. Awesome. So let me just take a moment. I'm going to introduce you to a brand new program. We call it Church Growth Accelerator, right? It is a 8-week implementation coaching program. And our goal is to show you how to double your church by connecting 2 to 3 new families per week and turning them into fully mature disciples, right? Our goal isn't just to get them connected. We want them to help you become disciples. And so, as I mentioned, this program, it's built to help pastors struggling with church growth quickly. And we're going to work through these 4 steps, right? We mentioned step 1, reaching new families. We're going to walk you through how do you do certain outreaches? How do we get to know the community better so we can connect with them more effectively, whether online or in person? What are we doing to be able to reach them? Number 2, we're going to talk through step number 2, which is connecting new families to your church. How do you create a welcoming experience? What are we doing to follow up with first-time guests? What should membership class look like? What should our follow-up process look like? How do we connect people? And what do we do with people who maybe they're living common law? Maybe they're struggling and they have areas and struggles in their life. What do we do with them and how do we help them out? Then step number 3, how do we turn members into disciples? And in this step, we walk through what we call a discipleship map. And I love this. One of my favorite things to do is help you map out your discipleship process from the moment someone walks into the building all the way to they become someone who's Christ-centered. What are the steps we should be taking? And then lastly, step number 4, how do we turn disciples into leaders? Right now that we've got people who are discipling, who are growing in their faith, how do we get them connected into leaders? And so this is specifically the 4 major steps that this program is built on. So here's everything you're going to get in the program. This is an 8-week Church Growth Accelerator course. And so, you're going to see the different modules. You're going to have access to all of the modules, all of the trainings. Many of the trainings include, they include resources and they include documents that you can download and put to use immediately. You're also going to have 8 weekly group coaching calls. These are Q&A calls that you're going to have an opportunity to have conversation, ask questions, get feedback. As I mentioned, some of the Zoom calls, these individuals when we go live. Daily unlimited support via Facebook Messenger. So you're going to see inside of the program, you're going to have access to a chat. And in the chat, inside of the chat, you're going to have access to an opportunity to really be able to connect and ask questions ongoing. You'll be able to upload any kind of programs and get, if you're working on something, I'd love to be able to give you feedback. So this is an example, Pastor Ryan Stockstrom was working on a sermon, uploaded it. I gave him feedback, came back to him, got to review it, give him some feedback on it. And so on top of that, we're going to be able to build your systems, right? So you're going to have some documents, resources, PDFs that are going to help you build your systems faster. When we talk about resources, one of the biggest challenges is how do we go from theory to practical? And this is where some of these practices, these resources are going to help you implement these things immediately. Okay. And so, as I mentioned, there's the 8-week Church Growth Accelerator course. It's a value of $19.97. This is 8 weekly group coaching calls, which is $9.97. Daily unlimited support via Facebook Messenger, which is $9.97. Build your systems, faster resources, which is $4.97. And on top of that, you're going to get access to a Facebook group community where we'll be able to connect and you'll be able to connect with other pastors. And so the total for value of this program is $4,488. And so let me ask you this question. If all this did was help you do was add 2 new tithing members, right? If you were just able to add 2 new tithing members, would it be worth it? All right. So if you think of it from a practical perspective, let's say you've got 2 new members who are making $30,000 a year. And so maybe they tithe $3,000 for a year. Would it be worth it? Would it help you? If all this did was help you develop 3 new spiritually mature leaders, right? So you had to do, now you have the opportunity to delegate more and not do as much work. Not necessarily have to be involved in every little detail because you've got people you can trust. Would this program be worth it? If all this did was help you grow your ministry without burning out, would it be worth it? And so, as I mentioned, the total value is $4,488. That's the 8-week Church Growth Accelerator course. That's the 8 weekly group coaching calls, the daily unlimited support via Facebook Messenger, the Build Your Systems Faster resources, access to the Facebook coaching group, and an encouraging and supporting community of pastors. And so this is going to be available. You can get started today at just $149. It's a 4-pay option. All right. Or if you'd like to pay in full, you can pay $497, one payment. And this is what we call a case study group. And so what it simply means is that in the future, this course is going to be priced, or it's going to be valued at over $1,000 price wise. But we're giving a significant discount because you're going to help us by giving us some feedback. Some of the courses, some of the programs, you're going to kind of say, hey, can we do it this way? Or what about, can you help me with this PDF? I'm missing this document, or I need help with this strategy. Help me figure it out. And that'll just kind of give us an opportunity to have some personalized, close conversations. And you can just jump in. I'm going to put this inside of the chat. You can go to Church Growth Accelerator. I don't know why it does that. Let's do it this way. And inside of the chat, you can join us at, Church Growth Accelerator.co/join. Right. And as I mentioned, this is a case study group in exchange for your feedback and your patience as we build it together. There's also a limit on the amount of people we're taking in. We're only taking in about 20 people in total. Right now, I've already got somebody who has signed up, so 19 in total. And if you decide to pay in full, what we're doing is for the first 5 people who pay in full, we're going to give them a 60-minute clarity call. Right. The idea is that we'll be able to jump and help you get clear on some of the next steps or get clear on some of the things that are keeping your church from growing. And then in addition to this, we've got a 7-day money back guarantee. So you can try it for the first 7 days. If you feel like it's not for you, no problem. Get back to me, let me know, and we'll refund you. It is time sensitive. As I mentioned, we're going to begin June 10th. The enrollment is, we've got 19 spots that are available. And, that way, if you'd like a spot, make sure you grab one as soon as possible. And then we've added a couple of bonuses. Bonus number 1 is what we call the Perfect Facebook Ad Masterclass. So one of my good friends, he's a Facebook ad, expert, and he teaches pastors how to actually utilize Facebook to be able to reach their communities. So he did a masterclass for me. Then we've got another bonus, which we call Preach Better Sermons Review. The whole goal behind this is to be able to give you feedback on some of your sermons, really help you with some of the communication side of things. And then bonus number 3 is our First Impressions team training, where you can actually take this training. We'll provide you with this training, and you can actually share it with your team. So that way your ushers, your First Impressions teams, your greeters can get trained by me utilizing this video. And so the total for all of this is $6,378. But as I mentioned, you can start today at $149, followed by 3 additional payments of $149, or you can pay in full $497. And I just want to say this probably isn't the program for you. If you're just going to let it sit on the shelf, you're not going to implement anything, I'd say, hey, this is not the program for you. And if you're not willing to try anything different, like if you're good with the way things are going and you don't want to try anything new, you don't want to, it's absolutely fine. This may not be the program for you. All right. So at this point, I'm going to open us up to Q&A. And Alejandro, I don't know if you want to just kind of.
Hey, bro.
Hey.
Yeah. So let's jump into Q&A. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself about anything Ariel talked about today, or the actual program itself. So did you say a Google Doc is available?
Yeah, so I'll get the Google Doc.
Perfect.
It's the script. I got to open up Chrome.
What other questions, y'all? Feel free to unmute.
Um,
You're gonna drop it in there, yeah?
yep, I'm getting it now. I'm gonna drop the script in there.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so it should be in the chat. If you go to the chat, you'll see that there's a Google Doc, and inside of the Google Doc, you can click it, and it'll take you right to the script, and it gives you two examples of how we use it. One, the membership document, like we mentioned, how we modified it for membership class, and the other, how we used it for an Easter outreach that they were doing.
So here, when it comes, one question that I know a lot of pastors would have, what are you editing this? Like, just tell me a little bit about the video. Is this, just set it and forget it, or is it you using some editing software, or do you talk a little bit about that in your course?
Yeah, so editing wise, literally, I use a program called Opus, and all we do is I just use it because it puts the words on the video.
What do you mean the word? Sorry.
So when the pastor shoots the video, it literally Opus takes the transcript and puts it on the
The
video.
captions.
The captions, yes, thank you.
Yep.
That's the only thing I use, and just for that reason alone.
And
Just
how much is that? And do people have to use that?
no, people don't have to use it at all.
Okay.
I only use it because again, I like the captions. I find some individuals want to read, and some individuals want to just listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, the most important thing about the video, honestly, is the last question, is getting people to commit by saying yes. The moment they type yes back to you, now there's an opportunity for you to give them further instructions or have some sort of interaction with them. Um, you know, so what is a good rate of return to expect on a video message? So I will say this, when it comes to open rates, I'm looking at the program that we use now, and I think the open rates are about 94%. Which again, when you think about texting versus emails, most emails are 20, 30%. So video, they get notified right on their phone.
Hmm.
People will typically watch it if it's less than 2 minutes, and then that it just makes it easier for people to respond. So I think, Jay, part of the question you're asking is, what's a good rate of return based on your guess? The question I would ask, the clarifying question is, are these individuals who you've been connecting with recently, or are these people who you haven't connected with in the last 6 months?
Mm.
If there's someone you haven't connected in the last 6 months, your response rate will probably be lower, maybe like 20%, because those people are looking at you like, I haven't heard from you in 6 months, and now you want to talk with me, right? Where if you've been reaching out to somebody on a consistent basis and you've kind of kept it going, then that response rate will be higher. So I know, Pastor Jay, you already have a follow-up process. And I would just kind of say, hey, people who don't respond to your first 4 weeks, maybe you should send them something every 2 to 3 weeks, just to keep it top of mind, to make sure that they're still connecting with you.
Now, the churches that you were working with, Ariel, some of the ones that you had mentioned, one of the questions I have is, did any of them have any follow-up process or email whatsoever? Were they following up with people?
Only so it varied. Most churches didn't have a in-depth follow-up. They would make one phone call send out one text message or one email. And that was, and honestly, the real reason for it is just capacity. Like when you're the pastor and you don't have a lot of volunteers, how much can you really do? And that's kind of what they found
That's
themselves.
actually shocking that a lot of them are doing one of those three things.
Just no, I mean, but one time only.
Yeah, but still, there's a lot of churches that don't follow up. And I think from a marketing standpoint, my background, right, is,
Mhm.
you know, if if you aren't, it does. Okay, let me back up. When I was, I think 18 or 19, I went to visit a church on Wednesday. That church was probably about 1,000 people. I got a call on Wednesday directly from the pastor.
Mhm.
I was blown away. I just could not believe a church that size, a pastor spent. And then I found out later that he every Wednesday for a few hours, he's just calling real quick, 5, 10. Hey, wanted to let you know, pray. Thank you so much for, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
again, there's capacity and he had a bigger team, so he was able to do some of that stuff. And I just think getting in front of people with a video like this could be really powerful. So yeah, I think, people
Mhm.
don't care. What's that saying? It's that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
Yep.
so just that touch point, I think, is creates a little bit more stickiness. Um, but
And
other questions for y'all, as we wrap up. What other questions do you guys have? David?
Yeah, we recently did an event. We did a sports camp for kids.
Awesome.
And
nice.
the unique thing about this event, however, was that it was off camp. It wasn't at the church. We actually got to use the college field, had some college players help.
Nice.
Um, I, how do I connect with these parents differently? Uh, we had a devotion at the middle, and we had kids respond. I think some of them felt like we did a little bit of a bait and switch. They didn't know for sure it was a church event. We did say the church sponsored it, and I did always refer to myself as Pastor David. However, there was a little bit of that. So, how uniquely differently do I contact these parents compared to maybe somebody that visited on a Sunday, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that we do cover in the program is what we call a two-step outreach, right? So what that means is this: you're if you're not careful, you're trying to make people create a big jump. They're going to go from this community outreach event to now coming to your church. That's a big jump for people. But if you added an in-between step, so imagine this. This is something we did with a church that does a sports week, just like what you mentioned you're doing. They go from sports week to a family dinner at their church now, and then from the family dinner, then to an invitation on Sunday. So that's one idea. Another idea you can do is what if you do a celebration on Sunday during your service? So you do a sports week, every kid gets a trophy, but they get them on Sunday. You get to pray for the families, you do a celebration right after the service. So that now changes your follow up, right? Because now you're adding a step in between, and it's not, in some respects, this is what I used to say to pastors. What it feels like is, hey, it's nice to meet you. You want to get married? Like that's a big step, you know. And I used to say this: only weird people propose on the first date, you know. So, and if anyone got married on the first date, please forgive me, but my wife would have never said yes to me. But that's what we're asking people to do when we want them to go from this community outreach that doesn't have overly religious overtones, and we want them to now start coming to church. We're skipping a step. So I think add a step in between, you know. And or if you want them to come to the church, then do something that is going to be, like want causes them to want to come, like a trophy celebration and a luncheon afterwards after the service. But I like the luncheon in between, because then your follow-up is it, it's the sports week. I'm following up to get you to the dinner. Then from the dinner, I'm following up to get you to the church.
One other thing I would say on that, David, and for everybody listening, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So sometimes the loudest people that complain, they probably may never, they just kind of, I tend to find people kind of complain a little bit and they may never have walked into church in the future, right? And so I feel like and there may be some genuine concern and you can handle that and build a raving fan out of that. But I would just say sometimes it's like the small minority that's the loudest that complains, when there are people that are like genuinely feel so blessed that their kid got to play sports with other kids. Those are the families that I'm really focused on. So I would just gauge that. But Ariel's point of that trophy thing is genius. I love that idea, Ariel. I think that's smart.
I like trophies too. Makes me feel good. But yeah, it's just really trying to build that community, that relational equity with people. That's really the big. And again, I think this is where our thinking needs to shift from I'm trying to get you married next week to let's date a little bit, right? Come to this event, come to this outreach we're doing, come to the church, we're doing this, we're praying for your kids, you know, and over time you'll share the gospel in your sermons, they'll hear it, they'll have an opportunity. We don't have to always close a deal immediately. For some people, they're on the precipice. You say Jesus and they're like, I need him. And then there's some other people where it's like, they're far away. And you say Jesus and they're like, I'm not ready for it right now. And so this is where having a process is okay. Taking your time with new people is okay.
That's so good. What else, y'all? What other questions? I thought I saw someone else unmute, but if you have any other questions, y'all, you can unmute and ask Pastor Ariel. Making sure.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
He's asking. One of the things that I've been kind of running into is like, for example, I'm this sports event. Okay. I connected with the kids. So now I'm contacting the parent, and I'd also like to put a little line in there for the kids. I'd like to, I don't text kids directly, even if I were to have their phone. I don't do that. But I could I could I have a video that I would send out, and could I just simply mention that you might want to show it to your child that attended, kind of thing, or maybe even just put an invite for him and let the parents show it to them. What do you think?
Yeah. Do you have kids of your own?
Yeah, we have youth kids.
Okay.
Oh,
So
you mean I have grandkids? I'm that
yeah, so
that
I
point in
would
life.
say if you're ever shooting a video, so one of the things that I kind of use as a rule of thumb for pastors is when you're shooting a video for an audience that isn't reflective of who you are,
Oh, uh-huh.
include that audience in the video. So for example, if you're sending a video and you know that there's going to be some single women on the video or some women who are going to watch the video, I would then include your wife. She doesn't have to say anything, but just by including her, it becomes a little bit more relatable. You want to send a message to a young person, then bring a young person with you. Hey, this is Miguel from our youth
That's
group,
cool.
and we wanted to share with you X, Y, and Z, and we'd love to have you join us on this date and time and whatever it is. But just by including, right? Because one of the things, and it's funny, my senior pastor was very cognizant of this. He used to tell us all the time, what people see, they're going to replicate. And so when you come to a church and you want to attract a specific type of person, if they don't see it on the platform, that you're not going to be able to connect with those individuals. So he was very cognizant of we're in New York City, being multicultural, very cognizant of having women on the platform, very
Mhm.
cognizant of having young people on the platform, right? Because we were trying to attract that kind of community. That was the community surrounding the church. So be reflective. So whenever you're doing anything like that, just make sure that it's reflective. Is that helpful? Yeah.
Great questions, David.
You're muted.
I was just calling out Alvin, Debbie. Any questions from you, Gabriel, Friday, George, Ron?
Pastor Friday, how are you doing? Pastor Friday was part of our program back in the days
That's awesome.
out in Texas.
Awesome, Ariel. Well, we'll get out a replay to y'all, and man, highly recommend using the script. You know, it's like hearers versus doers, right? Like, you know, it's good, knowledge is good, but taking it, doing something with it. And if even if you do a little bit, I think I saw someone that said if you do nothing every day for 365 days versus doing like 1%, you know, you end up being 30%, 37% further by the end of the year just by doing little small steps every single day. Don't put it off. I think there's a level of responsibility that we have to share these things. I think sometimes God speaks through community, and when we get insight, it's our responsibility to go take action on those things. Any closing thoughts from you, Ariel, on what's next, how to get connected with you and the program? Just love some closing thoughts from you.
Yeah, I'd love to, have many of you just kind of join with us, because one of the things about that I've noticed is doing things on your own, you will only get so far. But when you do things in community, man, you get so much further. And so this is where, I feel like joining a program, getting the coaching, getting the support, and we've seen some amazing God do some amazing things in the ministry with people. But it's really it helps when you have someone else who can help you view things from a different perspective. So it's tweaks, it's just adjustments to your thinking, add some strategy, but you would have never thought of some of these things, on your own. And that's what happened to me. And that's what when I get around good coaches, they help me see things that I just don't see on my own. And so I'd love to encourage you to be able to join us. I'm excited about the program. I think one of the things that's also exciting to me is about how actionable it's going to be. I want to make it as easy as possible for you to take action. Just jump in, get stuff done. So definitely. Pastor Jay, great experience working. Awesome, Pastor Jay. Thank you. Definitely worth joining us. I'm just gonna put the link one more time in there. So you're more than welcome. And by the way, Pastor Jay, Pastor Alvin, I'll reach out to you guys, but I do have like a special alumni pricing that I'm doing for this, just because I want to reward some of the guys who've been a part of what we've done in the past. So I'll share those things with you in private. I think I lost Alejandro. Awesome. So thank you guys so much. If you do have any other questions going forward, anything about the program or anything, feel free, message me on Facebook. You can message me on Facebook, ask me any questions. We'll send out the replay, and then we'll connect from there. All right. Well, let me do this. Father, I just thank you for every pastor that was on this call. And we just pray for your blessings in your hands, that you would lead and guide, be glorified in their ministries, help them to reach many with the gospel so that you would be glorified. Do it, we pray, in the name of Jesus. Amen. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Have a fantastic, fantastic afternoon. God bless.